to the work session on Wednesday, December 1st, 2021. We have 6 items on the agenda tonight. Start with item number 1, draft legislation to amend the city code, speed monitoring cameras on highways.
Mr. President, if I could, before you start, could I make one comment just to brief the council real quick?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I just wanted to have the chief come on. We have an incident going on Route 1, and wanted to make sure the council is aware of it. It's an ongoing investigation. As well, as most know, this is being broadcast, so there won't be a whole lot the chief can say, but we want to make sure you all were aware since it just occurred. Thank you, Mr. President. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. President. Just briefly, just prior to 4 o'clock this afternoon, we had a shooting in the area of Route 1 South at Domer, over near the Crown gas station, the Dunkin' Donuts, and the Wells Fargo, but going south. The shooters fired a number of rounds, apparently. At this time, we have no known victims. We do have one uninvolved vehicle that was struck, and our investigation is in the very early stages. Again, unknown victims, except for the person whose car was hit, and unknown assailants. And we are currently interviewing possible witnesses. I urge the public, if anybody saw anything, even if you think it isn't important, it may be important, please give us a call and we'll be glad to follow up with you. We solve most of these issues through the help from the public. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you, Mayor. Moving on to item number 1, draft legislation to amend the city code, speed monitoring cameras on the highways. Councilmember DeWalt, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. When I went on the MML website, they had a bulletin concerning the update of speed monitoring systems. It was presented in the General Assembly this year, and it was passed. It was House Bill 619. I don't know if anybody was aware of it, but everybody always said about Montgomery County having a large amount of speed cameras in their neighborhoods, in their residential areas. I believe they were grandfathered. From what I understand, they were grandfathered in before the state law became effective. Well, now they've, because of the Prince George's County delegation, they've added Prince George's County to that, where we could put speed monitoring systems now into residential areas, but it has to be authorized by the governing body if it's in a municipality. So I attached House Bill 619. My number one complaint from citizens, it's been for a long time, is the speeding through Laurel. Not only at our major arteries that come into the city, but through our neighborhoods, which the speed limits are only 25 miles per hour through a lot of our neighborhoods. And it's also the running of stop signs. And as we all know that, we have a limited amount of resources as far as police officers being out there and running radar. And a lot of times when you run radar, you're only getting a small percentage because you're only out there an hour, maybe an hour and a half or 2, and you're only getting a small portion of the population that's actually speeding. Well, with these speed cameras, and you can tell the difference in Cherry Lane. I used to run a lot of radar up on Cherry Lane in front of the high school, and I always had speeders all the time up there. And every time I go by the high school now, you could just see everybody knows that speed camera's there. They slow down, and they slow down very considerable going down Cherry Lane. And I just think this would be a great asset as far as the city of Laurel goes. It will help remedy certain areas that are troublesome, such as the 1200 block of Montgomery Street, such as Oxford Drive, and many more residential areas where the speed limit is only 25. And if you need any more information on it, I have it and I could forward it to you. I tried to get as much as I could before the meeting. And that's about all, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman DeWalt. Is there any discussion? Councilman Sidnor, any questions?
Yes, only thing that I suggest that we wait until the traffic study is come back. I think the traffic study is supposed to come back sometime in mid-February. And once the traffic study come back, they'll give us an assessment on what's the best way to reduce speed in our city. That's what we ask for, traffic analysis. So that's my recommendation, is wait until the traffic study come back to make any decisions on going forward with any type of speed cameras throughout the city. See what our experts recommend for us to do, since we already paid for them to start the study. That's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sidnor. Councilman Cole?
I agree with what Mr. Sidnor said. As far as waiting for where to put speed cameras, to wait for the results of the study. But I do think we should move forward with adopting the Prince George's County legislation, or look to pass some version of it ourselves, so that it'll allow us to pass them after this traffic study.
Thank you, Councilman Cole. Councilman Mitchell, any questions? Discussion?
Thank you, President Smith. I definitely agree with Councilmember Sidnor and Councilmember Cole about waiting until the traffic study. One question that I had was, what particular highways in the city would something like this apply to? Just to get a better understanding.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchell. Director Pulley, can you, that would probably, I'm sorry. Director Lee, could you answer that question for him?
Yeah, actually, Mr. President, if I could, I'm going to ask the chief to come on. We have been looking at the legislation. This is state legislation, enabling legislation that we passed years ago that allows us to do it already. What they have done is change the laws, as you heard Councilman DeWalt talk about, to allow for other roadways. There's certain criteria that must be used to use the cameras. The administration's all in favor of this. We want to work with the council on this. I think it's important, as you've heard from all the council members, quite frankly. The chief and his command staff have been looking at it. It's gonna require our city solicitor to look at it as well. I think the timing will be just about right. We're gonna have to amend the legislation within our code, which will come back to the council in January's work session. And you can adopt it then. And by then, I think we'll have some more answers on the type of roads. The traffic study will hopefully be included, possibly. But I also think that'll move this along, because I think that's really what everybody wants to do. But if I could, maybe the chief has more to this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Council President. As the mayor mentioned, we've been working with the mayor and city administration and looking at this. We were aware of the change in the law. Myself and the deputy chief coming from Montgomery County are aware of the robust program from over there, and that you're correct, Councilmember DeWalt, it was grandfathered in as being existing prior to the state legislation. Councilmember Mitchell, to answer your question, the limit is 35 miles per hour and below. Roadways 35 miles per hour and below. I agree with the mayor. I think it is prudent for us to have the city solicitor go over any enabling legislation that we explore. Also, we've already met with our vendor and discussed this and a couple other matters we discussed with the vendor regarding how to best go about this. But I agree the traffic study would really, and traffic and parking study would help point us in a better direction of how to do this. And we have some avenues we want to explore with the vendor on giving us greater flexibility in applying this added measure. These are force multipliers for us. It is about public safety and ensuring the community is safer in their traffic and in pedestrian travels. And this is, as I mentioned, a force multiplier that allows us to do this with the resources that we have available to us. So we are very happy that we're going to be able to go down this road and address many of the community concerns that the mayor, Mr. DeWalt, spoke of regarding traffic and pedestrian safety. So with that, if anybody has any questions, I'm glad to answer them. Other than that, thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone's response, and I just had I guess more of an informational question. What is the amount of revenue that the city received last year from speed cameras, and where is that money distributed to? Like what line items in the budget would that revenue be distributed to?
Mr. President, if I may, we can get you that. Oh, Michelle, I'm sorry. I was just getting ready to say you're on vacation. Sorry. I'll leave
Director
Michelle.
Taylor?
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Mitchell. The speed camera funds are collected and they are held separate and apart from the budget, though they are appropriated through the budget process. In our FY21, we had a net revenue of $589,000. We do have processing fees and banking fees that we have to pay for the administration of the program. And actually that's probably, more like 550,000, including the salaries. A sworn officer has to look at these films and certify the citations. So we include that as part of our expense. So the funds are kept separately. They are appropriated. At the end of the year, we have to fill out basically a return with the comptroller to report what we collected and what our expenditures were. If we come within 10% of our operating budget, we have to provide the difference to the state. We don't get to keep that, but we have not had to turn that money over thus far. What we have used the funds on, so the net revenue, we have purchased or paid the lease cost for police vehicles, all of our police technology, like the cameras, the in-car cameras, body cameras, the tough books, the computers. We've also used those funds to install sidewalks where none existed through our capital improvement program. We've also used it to do our annual contracts for sidewalks and curb and gutter replacement, the patching around town. We've also used it for the crosswalks and for the electronic stop signs. So we put it to use as far as public safety. It's all public safety related that we use those funds, and mostly your capital projects, not your operating expenses.
Oh, thank you very much. That was very detailed, Michelle. Thank you.
Sure.
President, can I make one more comment, please? Real short.
Yes, sir, Councilman DeWalt.
Just similar to what the mayor and chief and the council member Cole stated, it's going to take us a little while to get the groundwork done to get this all taken care of and stuff. And I honestly believe by February we should probably get it all taken care of by then. And if the traffic study is to be out by February, we'll hit it right on the nose and hit it right on time. But to go forward with the legislation now to get it all worked out and everything taken care of is going to take a while. And then when the traffic study comes in, then we can directly use results of the traffic study to where we place or what we use with these speed cameras. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman DeWalt. There seems to be a consensus on agenda item 1. We're going to move this item for possible action at the mayor and city council meeting on Monday, December 13th, 2021. Moving on to item number 2, bid recommendation, IT fiber construction, Main Street Pool and Laurel Museum. Director Frost, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight, we're looking at a fiber construction project that will bring our private subsurface fiber to the Main Street Pool and the museum. As most of you are aware, while the museum is not a city building, we do support the building itself, and we provide services to support their mission. Once we connect the fiber to the museum specifically, we'll be putting them on our computer network, our phone system, and also our security system. The fiber itself is going to run from 6th Street up Main Street, and will cross Main and 7th, come up the sidewalk and into both buildings. The vendor on this is EastCom. They've been our vendor for the last several years on all our fiber projects. And the purchasing vehicle for this will be the state of Maryland outside plant contract, which we have been using the whole time. And EastCom is a master contractor on the state of Maryland outside plant contract. Cost of the products is $52,000 and change. It is currently in my fiber CIP project. I just want to add in our phasing, in our fiber project rollout, we have essentially just one more project to do to be complete on our initial plan, and that is to get fiber to Greenview Pool, which I hope to do in early spring. At this point, I'll take any questions.
Walt, do you have any questions?
Just one, Kevin. Once this is completed and we get the one down to the Greenview Pool, will that mean that all our buildings will now be connected together with that fiber?
Yeah, it'll all be connected on our private fiber. Correct, Mr. Walt.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Cole, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Councilman Sidnor, any questions?
No questions, Mr. President.
Councilman Mitchell, any questions?
No, thank you.
Mayor Mo, any questions?
No, I think what you're hearing from Mr. Frost is our overall master plan with all of our buildings. I just want to thank him and his staff for continuing to complete this. It hadn't been easy, so thanks again. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr.
There seems to-
President,
Yes, ma'am.
if I might, agenda item 1, the draft legislation on the speed cameras. I don't believe we're going to be ready to introduce anything on Monday, December the 13th. I think
Oh, yes.
the
you're
council
right.
should revisit that at the January work session.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So there seems to be a consensus on agenda item number 2. We're going to move this item for possible action at the mayor and city council meeting on Monday, December 13th, 2021. Next item is number 3, bid recommendation, fleet acquisition, PR John Deere utility tractor. Director Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President, Mayor Mo, Council President Smith, and City Council members. The Department of Public Works is requesting approval for the purchase of a John Deere utility tractor to replace vehicle number 98, a 2004 tractor in the fleet, which is currently being used by the Department of Parks and Recreation and has exceeded its useful lifespan. The department solicited several quotes, including vendors from our state and on-county contracts. The accepted quote is from Finch Turf Incorporated of Eldersburg, Maryland, which is a vendor on the Sourcewell Grounds maintenance contract, which services local and municipal governments. Quotes were as follows: Finch, Eldersburg, $39,997.09. Revels Turf and Tractor, multiple locations out of state, $40,770. And Atlantic Tractor in Edgewater, $69,338.50. Funding is included in the FY 2022 CIP reauthorized funds. The net cost for the tractor after the discount is subtracted for the residual trade-in value will be $39,997.09. Recommendations is recommended that the purchase of this equipment be approved in the amount of $39,997.09 to Finch Turf of Eldersburg, Maryland, for the purchase of the John Deere tractor. I'm available if you have any questions for me. Thank you.
Councilman DeWalt, do you have any questions, comments?
Just one comment. It's always great to hear that we're staying in state. We would like to stay in county, or in city, as a matter of fact, but we're staying in state. I know these equipment are very specialized in things, but it's great always hearing that we're spending our money in the state of Maryland. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman DeWalt. Councilman Cole, any questions or comments?
No questions on this recommendation, Mr. President.
You. Councilman Sidnor, any questions or comments?
No question, Mr. President.
And Councilman Mitchell, any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchell. Mayor Mo, any comments?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. So there seems to be a consensus on agenda item number 3. We're going to move forward with this item for possible action at the Mayor and City Council meeting on Monday, December 13th, 2021. Next item is number 4, bid recommendation, infrastructure restoration and emergency response equipment, Department of Public Works. Brian Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President Smith, Mayor Mo, and council members. The Department of Public Works is requesting approval for the purchase of roadway infrastructure restoration and emergency response equipment to replace various items at the end of their useful life cycle. These items are critical to daily projects and core to public works operations. Prior to the acceptance of this bid package, the department solicited quotes from 4 vendors. The quotes from Safeway and Patriot Contractors did not include quotes for all of the requested equipment. The quote from Diamond Core Drilling was $110,740. The accepted quote of $107,995 from Washington Air Compressor Rental Company of Hyattsville, Maryland, is for a complete quote list and is a vendor on the Sourcewell contract, member number 041719-CEC. The following equipment is scheduled to be replaced and upgraded. Ingersoll Rand roller number 40 will be retired and replaced by Dynapac roller 7 CC 1200. Ingersoll Rand air compressor 86 will be retired and replaced by a Dotson air compressor model P185. Aero board 67 and 85 will be retired and replaced by 2 Solar Tech Aero boards. Message boards number 403 will be retired and replaced by a Wanco full matrix solar message board. And the Dotson light towers 45 and 46 will be retired and replaced with 2 new Dotson light towers. Funding is provided in the FY22 CIP reauthorization, which includes equipment acquisitions. The total net cost after deductions for various equipment residual trade-in value is $107,955. It is recommended that the purchase of the equipment be approved in the amount of $107,955 to Washington Air Compressor and Rental Company. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Director Lee, Councilman DeWalt, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions.
Okay. Councilman Cole, any questions or comments?
No questions, but I do want to thank Director Lee for his thorough response for the age and why we need to replace each of those. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Councilman Sidnor, any questions or comments?
No questions or comments.
Councilman Mitchell, any questions or comments?
No questions.
Mayor Mo, any comments?
No, sir. Thank you.
So there seems to be a consensus on agenda item number 4. We're going to move forward with this item for possible action at the Mayor and City Council meeting on Monday, December 13th, 2021.
Mr. President.
Moving on, I'm sorry. So moving on to agenda item number 5, contract extension, FC McColm Consulting LLC, Hazard Mitigation Plan and Community Rating System. Director Cornwell, you have the floor.
Thank you and good evening, Mr. President, Mayor and City council members. Before you is a memo dated November the 23rd, 2021, recommending the approval of a contract renewal with FC McColm Consulting. This consulting company provides services related to floodplain management and the city's community rating system, which is known as the CRS. The CRS is a voluntary incentive program that recognizes and encourages community floodplain management practices that exceed minimum requirements under the National Flood Insurance Program. The original contract was approved by the mayor and the city council on July 8th, 2019. The cost of this service will not exceed $50,000, and funding is available through the FY 2022 CIP budget. If approved, this contract will be effective November 22, 2021 through November 21st, 2022. I respectfully request the council's approval to renew this contract for these services. Thank you, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director Cornwell. Councilman DeWalt, do you have any questions?
No
Comments? Councilman Cole, any questions or comments?
No questions, thank you.
Councilman Sidnor, questions or comments?
Ms. Cromwell answered the questions through the email. She sent it to the entire council. So thank you so much. No additional questions at this time.
Councilman Sidnor. Councilman Mitchell, any questions or comments?
No questions or comments.
Right. Mayor Moore, any comments?
No, sir. Thank you.
Right. There seems to be a consensus on agenda item number 5. We're going to move forward with this item for possible action at the next mayor and city council meeting on Monday, December 13th, 2021. Moving on to agenda item number 6, ordinance number 1991, updates, ULDC updates phase 5. The mayor has a few, you don't have any, you made your comments here, I'm sorry. Director Love, you have the floor.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. President, Mayor, and City Council members. 4 years ordinance number 1991, as required by the City of Laurel, providing legislation to amend the Laurel City Code, Chapter 20, Land Development and Subdivision Regulations. These are to update the department title, update the mixed-use transportation-oriented zone, plan unit development existing zone, and create public art guidelines in the sections that were listed. As stated, this is the 5th phase of the Unified Land Development Code update. The proposed changes would update the use number in the MXT zone, provide guidelines for substantial departure in the PUDE zones, and create guidelines for art in public places. Finally, for the bulk of the changes, we updated sections with the former department name of the Department of Community and Planning and Business Services and replaced them with the current department name, the Department of Economic Community Development. Overall, there were 68 sections amended in this update. For the MXT zone update, currently no developed MXT area in the city has more than 2 uses. And just to kind of clarify, by uses, what I mean is a residential, commercial, or office use. So we want to create a consistency with the developed MXT areas in the city, and also the county's ordinance also only requires 2 of those uses within their MXT zone. When we reference the uses, we're not, speaking of the multiple types. I think I stated that before. So not, if you have townhouses and apartments, that's still considered just one use, and you still would have to either put an office or commercial use within that. For the public art, the art and public places section, there's been kind of a growing energy from the community to look into creating more art for the public. We do not have standards within the ordinance for art in public places, so we consulted with other local jurisdictions, which helped craft our standards. We are proposing a section that includes public art being mandatory for new developments that meet the criteria as written. This would have new developments provide public art either on their development or within the ward that they are developing. These developments can also choose to offer a fee in lieu of the public art, which will fund a future public art project within the ward that they are developing. Lastly, it wasn't part of one of the changes, as it was a name change, but there were some questions, I guess, regarding live entertainment in the city. And just to clarify, live entertainment such as music by a band or other performing group, individual performer, or disc jockey with dancing are a separate special exception permit, which does not have a limit on the number of events that can take place per month. This is permitted in many commercially zoned districts, the CG, the CSH, CV, and the CVAC zones, and the mixed use zones. for a different number of, for, different types of venues. So that's all I have right now, Mr. President. Thank you.
Director Love. Councilman DeWalt, do you have any questions or comments?
Just one. Mr. Love, isn't the entertainment part, if they serve alcohol, is that strictly ruled by Prince George's County Liquor Board?
Yes.
As far as the different licenses and stuff they have to have?
That's correct. That's correct, Councilman DeWalt. That is strictly through the county.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you very much.
Councilman DeWalt. Councilman Cole, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions on the proposed amendment. Thank you.
Right. Councilman Sidnor, do you have any questions or comments?
The questions submitted through email, and the council received the questions back from answers back from the Department of Economic Development, and I'm good with the questions right now.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Councilman Mitchell, do you have any questions or comments?
Sure. I definitely love the idea of the art in public places and spaces. I think it's going to be great. Help beautify Laurel. One of the questions I had was, as far as like the smoking lounges or retail, were there any like existing businesses that this applies to currently?
Currently, we do not have any hookah or say cigar smoking lounges within the city.
Okay. And I guess my follow-up, are there any being considered?
We have not received any applications currently. I know we've been called a number of times, given the criteria out, and just no one ever followed up with us. Understood.
And I guess my other question was in relation to the MXT. I guess reducing it from 2 to 3 categories. My question was, has there ever been a consideration, a percentage of use for the second use? If we were to take that route?
We haven't looked at percentage, but we do look at a reasonable use. So if someone was proposing mostly houses or something to that effect, and they have, one, I always say, if you had like a lemonade stand or something small, like a small commercial business, we need more than that within there. We haven't actually put any percentages, but we'd be willing to listen to any ideas as far as a certain percentage for that. All the ones that we have currently, there's only one undeveloped MXT area within the city right now in the northwest corner of the city. All the rest have provided a fair amount of mixed use.
Okay, and I appreciate that, and I'd definitely be open to considering including that, because that would be one step further from the county if we were to get in line to be consistent with the county. Because the thought is, some businesses, they can come in with a 500-unit apartment complex and be like, I'm gonna put a Starbucks at the bottom, and the thought is that isn't truly mixed use. So the thought is like, what is the standard of reasonable? So that's why a percentage might be something to really consider.
Most definitely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor Mo, any comments?
Just a couple things. Just on Councilman DeWalt's on the liquor applications, I just want to make sure everybody's aware. We do get requests for letters or of support from liquor establishments, or the board does send us letters from time to time. So I just want to make sure everybody was aware of that. Robert, and I didn't pick this up, and I know we're talking about the MXT zone, but I want to make sure it's perfectly clear in all of our zones. You have live entertainment, you have dances, or you have bands, or whatever the case may be. You need a city permit to hold these events, and whether it's our establishments or whether it's an establishment that's moving into the MXT zone, or they have big rooms, or they're creating those types of environments, or I'm okay with them, but we need to know when they're occurring and what type of venue it's going to be and the number of people, those types of things. So that needs to be clearly stated, not only in the MXT zone, which again, I know we're dealing with here, but on all of ours, so that it doesn't get us into a an issue with the fire marshal's office as well. And load capacities, all those things that can occur in parking problems. We're already dealing with one in a community, and I don't want to see us create others. So we need to spell that out as well. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mayor Mo. There seems to be a consensus on agenda item number 6. We're going to move this item for possible action at the next mayor and city council meeting on Monday, December 13th, 2021. Our next council meeting will be, mayor and city council meeting will be scheduled for Monday, December 13th, 2021 at 6 p.m. via Zoom. And if there's no further business to discuss.
Mr.
meeting is-
President, if I
Yes,
could, just for clarification, since the last item is a text amendment, it will be introduced at our meeting on December the 13th, and then it carries into January of 2022, and we will have to have a court reporter at the meeting when we take action.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
If there's no further business to discuss, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.